Interview method or schedule method. The interview method is the oldest and the most often used device for obtaining information among human beings. It is a conversation with a purpose. There is a specific purpose on which an interview is taken, and it is a conversation between two or more than two people. It is a face-to-face interpersonal role situation in which one person, the interviewer, asks the person being interviewed, the respondent, questions designed to obtain information for the study of the social problem. So, in interview method, there is an interviewer. The interviewer is the person who will ask the questions from the respondent, that is the person who is being interviewed. And these questions are designed in such a way so that they can help the interviewer to get the maximum information from the respondent. The dictionary meaning of interview is a meeting of persons face to face, especially for the purposes of formal conference on some point, where two or more than two persons sit face to face with each other, and the purpose of it is to get some information on some important point. According to Pauline V. Young, interview is a systematic method by which a person enters more or less imaginatively into the life of a comparative stranger. The person who is being interviewed, that person is a stranger for the interviewer, but he is in a systematic manner tries to get the information from the interviewed. According to Goudet and Hatt, interview is fundamentally a process of social interaction. Here a social interaction takes between two or more than two people. Interview is a method of data collection, and by taking the interview, a data is collected mainly through the verbal interaction between the respondent and the interviewer, and the data is collected by a verbal talk between the parties interviewed and the interviewer. Characteristics of interview method. Number 1, interview is a social contact to study human behavior. Number 2, it has got a definite objective, that is securing certain information. For getting some important information, interview is conducted. It involves face-to-face contact between the interviewer and respondent. Both will sit face-to-face, facing each other. It is the way of finding out problem in a social situation, and it is conducted to find out a problem in certain social conditions. It is an oral verbal method of securing data. Orally and verbally the data is secured. The success of interview is based on the three aspects. Number 1, it depends on the capacity of the interviewer to build rapport. How the interviewer has convinced the respondent to be interviewed. Number 2, the right type of questions should be asked in the right manner. The interviewer should put the questions in such a way that the interviewed, the respondent, may not hesitate in answering them. Third, recording of the responses properly and accurately at the time of interview. all those responses are to be recorded properly and accurately at the right time. The interview method is suitable if the respondents are less in number. If the respondents are less, then this method is a suitable method of getting information. Now, types of interviews. The types of interviews are structured interviews, formal, controlled, guided, or direct interviews. Number 2, unstructured interview, informal, uncontrolled, unguided, or undirected interviews. Third is focus interview. Fourth is repetitive interview. Fifth is the clinical interview. Sixth is the non-directive interview. And seventh is the depth interview. Schedules as tools of interview. Schedules are used as tools to elicit information in structured interviews. Certain schedules are prepared to get the information in structured interview. The set of structured questions in which answers are recorded by the interviewer himself is called interview schedule. And the set of structured questions in which the answers will be recorded by the interviewer himself is called as interview schedule, or simply the schedule. Schedules are of 4 types. Number 1, observation schedule. Number 2, rating schedule. And number 3, document schedule and interview schedule. Now, characteristics of a good schedule. Number 1, the size and appearance of schedule must be attractive. Number 2, the questions should be clearly worded, easily followed without ambiguity. Number 3, right type of questions should be included. 4, the questions asked should be adequate and relevant to inquiry. Number 5, each question must deal with a single idea. 6, that of be logically related to the problem under investigation. And 7th, questions must be properly presented in good psychological order, proceeding from general to more specific responses. And the last one, the information sought should be capable of being tabulated and being subjected to statistical treatment. The 2 essential conditions of a good schedule are accurate communication and accurate responsibility. Now, evaluation of interview method or schedule method. The schedule method is very scientific, useful and reliable. It is possible to obtain objective and concrete information on the basis of answers personally received during the course of interview. Personally, the answers are received in interview. The interviewers can remove doubts and defects on the spot and understand the situation through personal observation. And if there are any doubts, there are any defect in the schedule, then the interviewer can on spot make corrections to it. It is not easy to formulate universal questions which may have the same meaning for all people. As the task of conducting interview is very time consuming and costly. It is a very time consuming and costly affair. It can be applied to a limited area, and because of this reason, because of the cost involved and the time involved in conducting the interviews, it is applicable on a very small unit of population. The respondents may not respond honestly if they are suspicious, and if the respondents are having some suspicion, then they may not respond honestly. It is often very difficult to get confidence confidential information from the interviewers. Besides this, a technique requires highly skilled and trained investigators. There is no dependable method to testing of reliability of schedules. The role of interviewer. The success of the interview entirely depends upon the part played by the interviewer during the course of interview. First of all, a good and pleasing personality, with delightful manners, go a long way in securing an interview. The convincing capacity of the interviewer convinces the respondent, helps him to elicit information, to get the information which others cannot gather. The interviewer should have the capacity of weeding out the irrelevant, exaggerated, superfluous, and find out the truth and reality behind the statements given by the respondents. Whatever are the statements that the respondent is giving, it is the ability, the capacity of the interviewer to find out the reality and the truth in those statements.